Wide-shot frozen forests of the Ural Mountains. Wind hums low-dot voice calm, reflective. They said it never happened. No headlines, no mourning, no graves. Just a quiet night in 1957 when the snow began to glow. Camera drifts above a sleeping town. A child presses her hand to the window, watching blue light bloom across the sky. Inside the Mayak plant, a technician checked the gauges for the 100th time. He was 23. He had a wife, a daughter, a photo taped to the console. The air smelled of iron and frost. Cut to his trembling hand, a single drop of sweat slides down his wrist. He didn't know the tank beneath him was boiling. He didn't know the walls were holding back a sun. Radio crackles, all systems normal. Static rises, heartbeat slow. Some disasters are loud, others are designed to be forgotten. White flash flickers once through the forest fog. Title fades in on silence: the Kishinev Disaster, the explosion that didn't exist. Soft dawn light filters through frozen glass. Steam rises from factory chimneys. Voice warm steady. Morning in Kishinev was always the same. The whistle, the snow, the sound of boots on steel. Workers laughed as they queued for tea. A woman tied her husband's scarf tighter before he left. The air smelled of coal and frost. They believed in what they were building. The atom was pride, not fear. Progress had a human face, young, hopeful, tired, alive. In the cafeteria, steam drifted from metal trays. Hands shared bread. Laughter echoed off concrete walls. The smell of soup mixed with the oil of machines. Inside the plant, gauges hummed and lights blinked like stars in a man-made sky. They called it peace through power. In the control room, a technician adjusted a dial, unaware of the faint heat rising beneath the floor. He kept a photo of his daughter taped beside the monitor. The same girl who waited by the window every night for his headlights to return. Outside, snow fell gently on rooftops. Children drew rockets on frosted glass. In 1957, faith was measured in megawatts. They trusted the system because it was all they had. The radio played patriotic music, soft and constant, filling the corridors with a quiet rhythm that sounded like certainty. Men in white coats smiled at their instruments, confident in numbers that never lied. No one questioned the silence under their feet. Deep below, a pipe trembled faintly. The sound blended with the music, small, invisible, forgotten. Sometimes peace isn't real. It's just the moment before the earth remembers what it's hiding. The music faded. A low vibration began beneath the frame. It started small, a sound, a flicker, a feeling that something wasn't right. He tapped the gauge once. It quivered again, the needle shaking with a slow, nervous rhythm. His breath fogged the glass, blurring the reflection of his own eyes. The air felt heavier that morning, thick, dense, the kind of air that listens. Down the corridor, a light flickered, buzzing faintly before steadying again. A coffee mug on a desk shifted slightly, sliding half an inch toward the edge. The radio hummed distorted, one long, low bend, before returning to normal. He lifted the headset and called the control room. No answer. Just static, soft, endless, like someone breathing on the other end. Outside, a dog barked by the fence, pacing in tight circles. Steam leaked from a vent in the wall, thin and white against the gray air, vanishing faster than it should. They told him not to worry. Instruments glitch. Pipes shift in the cold. The system holds. But his hand stayed tense around the headset. His wedding ring caught a faint spark of light. Deep down, he knew the rhythm had changed. In the cafeteria, the laughter stopped when the ceiling lights flickered twice. The clock froze at 4:22. Someone dropped a spoon. It hit the tile, sharp and final. No one spoke. The hum grew lower, deeper, like the earth itself was exhaling. The floor began to vibrate softly. A window rattled once and went still. Dust drifted from the vent above. He turned toward the window. The snow outside glowed pale blue, not reflecting light, but giving it off, pulsing faintly in the dark. The air tightened. The vibration pressed into his bones. The sound bent inward, folding on itself. Then came the silence, the kind that feels alive, the kind that always comes right before something breaks. It wasn't a boom. It was a heartbeat, one that swallowed the earth. The control room exploded in a storm of dust and flame. Gauges shattered, glass rained from the ceiling. The young technician was thrown backward, his hand still gripping the radio. For a moment, he thought he'd gone deaf. The world moved, but no sound came. Then the roar arrived, a sound so deep it bent the air itself. The fire spread faster than thought. The air turned liquid, molten, glowing. Bodies slammed against walls. Lights shattered in bursts of white. Alarms screamed off-beat, their rhythm lost under the thunder. Beneath Mayak, the storage tank split apart with the force of 1,000 artillery shells. The snow outside ignited instantly. The light consumed everything white, then blue, then nothing. Trees folded in half. Birds vanished midair. The forest burned without flame. Shadows imprinted on walls where people had stood. A woman ran down the road, clutching her child. The blue light washed over her face. She didn't understand why the night looked like dawn. Inside the compound, soldiers burst through corridors with masks on, shouting orders swallowed by the wind. Steam rolled through the broken doors, filling the halls. Metal groaned like something alive. Under the wreckage, the young technician crawled through debris, blood running from his mouth. His eyes locked on the photo taped beside the console, his daughter's smile frozen in time. He tried to reach it. His fingers brushed the edge. He never did. Outside, rooftops collapsed, trucks flipped. Sparks from torn cables lit the snow like lightning trapped in glass. Every frame trembled under the noise, white, endless, violent. The shockwave tore across the valley, bending trees, flattening entire towns. 200 settlements were hit. No siren ever sounded. No one was warned. A mother screamed beneath the roar. Her burned hand still covered her child's face. The sound faded, and then there was only wind. Dust drifted down like ash, resting on the faces of soldiers who stood staring into nothing. They said it was just a chemical fire. But the light, no fire burns that color. The Geiger counter crackled violently, its rhythm breaking apart before falling silent. Snow drifted through shattered windows, settling over twisted metal and scorched walls. Within hours, the town was gone. People walked barefoot through ash, their clothes glowing faintly in the dark, carrying silence on their backs. A helicopter circled above, its searchlight sweeping through smoke but finding nothing alive. From the air, the crater still glowed blue cold, perfect still. No movement, only wind. And somewhere beneath that light, truth sank deeper than the dead. The sound faded to ringing, then vanished. The screen froze on the blue glow for 3 long seconds before fading to black. When the light faded, the world forgot how to make a sound. A bicycle lay twisted in the middle of the road, spokes bent, tires half buried in ash. A small mitten rested nearby, gray and stiff. The air still moved, but nothing answered. The echo of life was gone. They found the survivors walking through the ruins, barefoot, dazed, faces coated in dust. Children called out for their parents, but the voices they sought would never return. The silence felt alive, stretching between every breath. Inside a makeshift tent, a nurse rinsed burned hands in cold water. The basin turned pink, steam rising into the gray air. Her fingers trembled, but she kept working. There were no records, no lists. Names disappeared before they could be written. In a corner, a mother rocked an empty blanket, her lips moving without sound. Outside, soldiers painted white chalk marks on doors, contaminated. Beyond the fence, smoke drifted like a ghost that refused to leave. The government sealed the zone. They said nothing had happened. No one was allowed to speak, to grieve, or to ask why. A priest stood in a roofless church, praying into the cold wind, his breath fading into the open air. The radiation had no color, no scent, no mercy. It spread quietly, settling into snow, into bones, into memory. They buried the story beside the bodies. No graves, no markers, only frost. Among the ruins, the young technician's photograph lay burned at the edges, face still visible. He never made it home. But far away, she kept the window open for years, just in case the light returned. The piano holds a single note. The wind stops, the frame empties of people. In Kishinev, silence wasn't peace, it was punishment. For 30 years, no one was allowed to remember. The maps stayed blank, the names were erased. The truth lay buried beneath the frost. An old man sits by the window, his hands marked with pale scars left by radiation. He watches the thin smoke rise from his cup of tea, twisting into the cold air before fading. He once worked at Mayak. His voice is soft, his eyes distant. The hardest part, he says, wasn't the blast. It was pretending it never happened.
There was silence.
A violin plays quietly in the background. A photograph of a young girl from 1957 fades into color, revealing an old woman standing in the same field. She bends down, placing flowers in the frozen soil. Every autumn, she returns. The forest still hums when the wind moves through the trees. The snow still glows faint blue at night, as if the ground remembers more than the people do. From above, the land stretches silent and empty. A faint shimmer lies where the reactor once stood, a mark that time refuses to heal. The air there is thin, metallic, and strange. We measure radiation in sieverts. But grief has no unit. A voice from an old recording echoes through static, all systems normal. Then it fades, swallowed by the silence. The people of Kishinev were not soldiers. They were farmers, teachers, mothers. They believed in the future they were told to build. They worked with pride, with faith, never knowing what was hidden beneath their feet. Inside the abandoned houses, shoes still sit by the doors. Curtains hang stiff with dust. Photographs have curled and darkened, faces disappearing into time. The walls remain, but they no longer remember. We called it progress. We called it secrecy. But somewhere between the two, we lost the meaning of truth. The piano softens. Morning breaks, washing the gray landscape with pale blue light. Trees grow where villages once stood. The wind moves gently through the branches, but it still carries the taste of metal. A child kneels by a memorial stone, tracing the carved letters of a name she never knew. She never met her grandfather, but she carries his silence. Maybe that's what survival is, not forgetting, but remembering softly. It wasn't the reactor that failed. It was the truth.